Greetings, traveler.
Alright guys, let's dive into the patch notes. There's lots of stuff to review, so let's get started. Anomalous evidence now goes from choosing 2 new quest rewards to doing that but unlocking on turn 4. Why do they do that? It's because turn, let's say 1 to 3, it's super impactful if you get lucky with high tempo quest rewards. Now, I believe they had already removed Red Hand from the pool. I don't think you could get Red Hand anymore. That's the quest that gives you 12/12 to your hand. If you get that turn 1, all you have to do is just hold your minion. Now you suddenly have +12/+12, and you're not losing around for quite a while. And there's other quest rewards that are just duds early. They don't do much. It really felt like Feast or Famine in that anomaly, where if you get, say, 2 or even 3 consecutive turns at the beginning of high tempo quest rewards, you could just level, and you're obviously in a much better position than people that don't get that. Like if you get 2 useless quest rewards, relatively useless quest rewards early on, you're so far behind to the people that didn't. So that's why this change was made, and I think that's good. Wisdom Ball now unlocks on turn 5. That changes how we play that anomaly. I'm not sure exactly what the reasoning for this is. It might just be that it's more fun if you don't have to wait longer, and that's fair. The normal curve we used to do in this anomaly is to go tier 4 on turn 5, so that on turn 6 we're already on tier 4 and we can start rolling. Now that Wisdom Ball unlocks on turn 5, it's very hard to be on tier 4 already. You'd have to go 4 on 4, and not a lot of heroes can do that, and you probably wouldn't want to do that because that's, take a lot of damage. You might take your first Wisdom Ball roll on tier 3 now to get stronger and then level to 4. I'm not actually sure. So that's cool. We get to try that out. But that would be my gut instinct here, because the very first roll you do when Wisdom Ball unlocks is automatically a Wisdom Ball roll. You might not know that. You may have observed it. You might sort of subconsciously see it like, oh yeah, the first, yeah, but that is hard-coded. The first refresh you do after your Wisdom Ball unlocks will be a Wisdom Ball roll. You probably want to check one roll first to see, do I get something insane? That would just give me a lot of values. Something stupid like, oh, I have a bunch of genies or spore bats or just anything fancy that will give you more money. If you can get that a turn earlier, that's obviously huge, right? So you want to get that. So you probably want to have a little bit of a sneak peek at your Wisdom Ball, see if it's good. If it's good, you buy it. Otherwise, you might just level to 4 and start playing on 4. I don't like being giga underleveled in this one. I think a lot of people have this, I guess, modus operandi of, oh, I'm just gonna stay on tier 4 the whole game because Wisdom Ball provides, but you can't like randomly roll into a brand in the shop, right? So you have to get lucky where Wisdom Ball will give you a brand. So can it work? Yes, absolutely. But I think generally speaking, if you're strong, if you can level, you probably should level because you still want to eventually be on tier 6 in this anomaly because you just naturally roll better cards as well. Scout's Honor, you now start with a golden Patient Scout in play. I mean, that's twice the 6 drops, twice the fun. I think that's fair. Gives you a little bit more of a chance to hit. Because right now, getting something like Neon Agent, getting something like Silavoss is so cool because you get so much early cash. And if you miss on that, it feels pretty bad. So at least now you have twice the chances of hitting that. So I think that's fine. I think that's a good change. Instant Warband. Start with 3 different tier 2 minions in hand. Okay. Huh. Man, there's a lot of variance on that, right? Basically, anything that doesn't give you money compared to something that gives you money is quite a big difference. So I'm not actually sure if I like this change. This was my least favorite anomaly simply because it felt like it wasn't really doing much. Now that it's going to give you 3 different 2-drops in your hand, I'm not sure if it's going to feel like an anomaly so much as, oh, do I get money or not? I'm curious about this because it could feel a lot better and it could feel a lot more fun, but there's also a realistic chance that it's going to feel more RNG heavy, and the people that hit economy are just in a much better spot. So we'll see. Prudence is out. This one I don't really understand, but I'm assuming it's going to be purely because a lot of people didn't like it. I really like this one. I thought it was fun, like TFT-esque. Just sit there, let your money bank, and then unload your bank and get a big reward. Now, it is a very different experience than regular Battlegrounds, so I can understand for people that haven't played TFT or that hadn't played with Prudence before. It just feels very annoying and chaotic, and you don't know when you should spend your gold, and you go too early or you go too late, you don't spike hard enough, you don't spike early enough, and you take way too much damage. So I can understand it, but for me as a experienced player and someone that played a lot of TFT where you have to build up a big bank and then choose when to at least eat into part of your bank, this was a very fun one to play, but I can understand it. Okay, secrets. appears less often, that's fine. So tier 7 had a natural boost to it, which is why you saw a lot of tier 7 games, which is why a lot of people on YouTube were also like, do you only play tier 7 games? I get it, there was a lot of tier 7 stuff, but that's also because this thing had a huge appearing bonus, so, or offering rate bonus, whatever you want to call that. This was probably the second most offered one. So you just saw a lot of secrets, and I think double hero power is the most popular one. Yeah, here it is. So double hero power appears less often. Jiraxis, Sarfang, Jailer, Putricide, Ragnaros, Tavish, Cariel, Cindy, Millie, Vandal, Rokara, Sylvanas are now banned as second hero power options. I think that's great. They removed a lot of the high armor ones. I don't think they can remove all the high armor ones, simply because I don't think people are being offered the same heroes now, right? You can have the second hero power of someone that is already in the lobby, right? So let's say there's a Shudderwock in the lobby, you can probably roll Shudderwock as your second hero power, but I don't think I've seen people unlock the same second hero power. So they probably need to keep a large enough pool to offer something different to everyone. Because if you say remove all the high armor ones, let's say everything that's 15 armor or more, then you probably run out of options to offer to people, and you have or Snake Eyes in the lobby or something. So I understand that. This is great. I do love this though. This is taking feedback from the community. This is something that, at least for me, was vexing me a lot, where when you play Cosmic Duality, I think that one is super fun. I like combining hero powers, but I really don't like taking a 10 armor hero and then being offered 320 armor hero powers without the benefit of the armor. So that doesn't really make sense, right? The whole hero power system was balanced, or at least more balanced. It's not really fully balanced, but it's more balanced because, hey, I get a bad hero power, at least I have a ton of armor. With Cosmic Duality, that's not the case. You just get your bad hero power. You don't get the armor. So removing a lot of the high armor stuff from the pool makes a lot of sense. So I like that. Guff was removed from tier 7. That makes total sense. Guff is broken in more than one anomaly, and this was probably his most broken anomaly, because being on tier 6 and just buying a bunch of stuff and farming 7 drops is insanely good. Pyramat has been banned in these anomalies. So from what I understand, this is purely bug related, where Pyramat's hero power wouldn't stack if you used this hero power. So all these anomalies give you another hero power, right? So you get match fixing, you get the emergency landing. If you have Pyramat, it's probably hard coded that when you use any hero power, it stops growing. And this is, the anomaly is probably treated as a hero power here, so I'm assuming that's what's going on. The Saloon's Finest has been banned from Golganeth's Tempest. That makes sense because it says that minions cost 2 gold. It refreshes itself after you buy a card. Oh, it was also bugged. Okay. I have just not seen a single Golganeth's Tempest across the entire anomaly meta. So that's variance for you. 1 player, sample size of 1. I have not seen this bug. I have not played a single Golganeth's Tempest. So yeah, that's why I don't know. Removed cards. No more Cyborg Drake. That's probably just to make space for other stuff, I'm assuming. Bone Render out. That makes a lot of sense. So from what I understand, at least what the devs communicated, Bone Render was not overpowered in terms of win rate. But when it was good, it was really good, and people really didn't like losing to it. Because a lot of people probably just bought Bone Render because Bone Render, and then lost. So his stats were not great. And that makes sense, right? When something's OP and not everyone understands exactly why it's OP or understands when to use it, the stats are going to be bad because you have a lot of people just putting Bone Render on their board and then dying because they don't have a good Bone Render board. But in the right situation, this card was insane, right? You could summon more poison stuff from your hand with a base skill. It was super powerful in the ixxdeee setup where you could leave 2 extra board spaces and run something like Eliza or Stomper and just a bunch of Bone Renders, just super strong. So that is going to change the meta quite a lot, because ixxdeee Pirates was a huge part of the meta, and that's now out. And a lot of the other summon stuff also gets a little bit weaker. Tier 7, it's a bit harder to summon more stuff with Stitch. And then Pilgrim is out. That's probably just to hit demons a little bit, make them a bit harder to go infinite with. Returning cards, yeah, so you see that the Cyborg Drake here, it's out simply because Sanctum Raster is coming back and they just need boards. They just need slots for that. Front Drake is back, Utility Drone is back. So Utility Drone is not a tier 4 anymore, so but we'll see that in a little bit, I'm assuming. Front Drake probably is the best 1-drop in the game. It almost always is whenever it's in. And it doesn't look like it. Front Rake is one of those cards where newer players especially be like, it's a 1/1, how good can it be? But the early rounds don't really matter too much. And then it gets you another dragon on turn 3, and all of a sudden you have a better board, you have an extra 1/1 on the board. You could sell that 1/1 later on, or you could triple it. If you triple it, it's quite nice. So don't be fooled by Front Rake. It looks weak, just being a 1/1, but it's actually one of the, if not the best 1-drop in the game most of the time when it's in. Then Utility Drone, we're gonna have a look at that in a future slide because it's a little bit adjusted. And Sanctum Rester is purely just a combat dragon, right? It's the same as Promo Drake, right? It works with Poet, so not really a very exciting card. It's just one of those combat buffers. Stitch can no longer trigger on a Stitch. That's good, but in a tier 7 lobby with Stitch, it's still going to be the strongest thing to do by far, I'm assuming. Because if you have Golden Moira, which you almost always have through Zarjira or Sanders, one Stitch that's taunted, that kills your best unit and then dies, still summons 3 times your best unit. That is really, really good. And you could run 2 of these where you have a Stitch on one good minion and then a Stitch on another good minion. And then you could have 6 copies of 2 really good minions. You know, up to 6 copies, you'd have to get, you know, clean, perfect combat. But still, that's very powerful. I get that it's a bit annoying to have to just remove Stitch and then have to put in, I don't know, like the crappy undead from before, but I don't think that this is going to change much. I think that this is still going to be the meta and it's still just going to be what you're aiming for, because if you can have a really, really, really good unit and then get 3 copies of that, that's really strong. So I'm assuming people are still going to force this. Utility Drone is now a tier 6, and it gives +3/+2 for each magnetization they have. This will make Hollow Rover a lot better, because Hollow Rover is just insanely good at farming magnetics. It will also make the Clunker comp really strong, because right now I'm already playing Clunker Murkai and purely scaling through Boom's Monster, and I'm a monster. Yeah, I guess poorly word choice. But still, it's so strong. Now imagine if you have all those magnetics and you have a golden Drakari, which you very often have because you have infinite gold if you play that comp because of all the Accordatrons. And now you're also getting this amount of buffs times 3. That is... So in the right setup, Utility Drone is crazy. Hollow Rover comp is pretty bad right now, so people aren't really running that, but that might change with Utility Drone. So it's going to be a pretty bad 6-drop to discover for almost every comp. It's only good if you have the Clunker Murkai stuff or if you have the Hollow Rover setup. So we'll see how that plays out. It is definitely a little bit of mech support. Boomobile is now 2020. I love it. Boomobile is bad. What do we do? Increase number. And honestly, they're not necessarily wrong, because that makes Boomobile quite a good tempo unit to pull early, because you can play a Boomobile solo, right? You could just play one Boomobile and now you have 20/20 Divine Shield Wind Fury Reborn, which means that you're going to deal 20 damage, then you're going to deal 20 damage again. It might survive. You're going to deal another 20 damage, then it's going to reborn, then it's going to deal another 20 damage to the Divine Shield, and then finally another 20 damage because of the 1 HP, you know, the 20 and 1 that remains after the Divine Shield is gone. That's a whole lot of tempo. So does that really change much? No, not really. It feels a little bit better if you pull an early Boomobile, that's all. Big Brother is now +1/+1. That makes a lot of sense. Demons were giga broken, and Big Brother giving so much HP was definitely part of that, so totally fair. Fireworks Fanatic goes to 2/2. That's fine. No one was playing this, so maybe now you have some niche spots for it. It's just a little bit too slow. It doesn't really do enough for what you usually get when you're scaling. So there's just way too many good scaling options, especially in a lot of the anomalies where you have some specific stuff to do. Yeah, probably has some niche applications, but I don't assume this card's going to be insane all of a sudden. Atissa goes back to buffing only 4 friendly Nagas, so that's fair. Nagas were really strong, especially if you popped off with Groundbreaker. Hitting Atissa a little bit is totally fair. Also puts it more in line with Gains, because Lord of Gains was in this weird position where it was just a worse Atissa almost all the time. At least now, Lord of Gains will buff all the other Naga, and it stacks with Drakari, so there's some reason to play Lord of Gains. Sanctum Rester now gives 10 attack instead of health. Okay. That was changed from before. We saw the Sanctum Rester here with +8 health, and now it's going to be 10 attack. Okay, that's fair. Okay, that is much, much, much more in line with what dragons already do. That's actually... Huh. That's a good way to scale Nightbane. Yeah, +10 attack on everything. That's actually fair. Huh. Okay, but I mean, dragons do... Essentially, they do that thing, right? They just have shields and very high damage. So, okay. I like that. That's a lot better. Because I think scaling the health from dragons is kind of whatever. They just have their gimmick, right? Their gimmick is we have a really high damage divine shield, and it really sucks when beast and undead are in because you just lose the tokens. But it's really nice if you're just fighting stats, so sure. Promo Drake goes from a 3/3 to being a 2/2. That's probably because they're adding a lot of dragon support. Sanctum Rester, they're adding the front Drake, they're adding that one back. Oh, whoa. Give your dragons. Okay, I get it. So essentially, they're just saying, you guys are not playing enough dragons, play more dragons. Here, Promo Drake, buff yourself. That's nice. So that's why it loses a stat point. Yeah, you guys are right. All right, well, I understand that. Dragons bad, buff dragons. That makes a whole lot more sense. All right, cool. Mithrax is now 2/2. I think that's good. Mithrax being on tier 4. I've played a lot of Battlegrounds, so my mind is sometimes stuck in previous metas. This was the best 5-drop to triple into early at one point in the game. That's how long I've been playing. That's how much power creep there was. If you could triple into a Mithrax early, especially in a meta where Sephin was in, you could just have a huge Mithrax in the back and you could make a lot of little poisons with Sephin, and then you would essentially win the whole game because you'd have a bunch of poisons to kill your opponent's big minions, and then you'd have your one big Mithrax in the back to clean up tokens and stuff. For me, thinking about that, how good Mithrax was, when I saw that they put it on tier 4, I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. And then I played a bunch with it on tier 4. I'm like, this is garbage. So there's that much power creep that it was just like, okay, I don't really care if the best 5-drop in a certain iteration of the game is now on tier 4. They actually have to buff it, right? So now it's, now it's 2/2. So it's good. I wasn't really playing with Mithrax anymore, so maybe I'll pick him up again. We'll see. All right, guys, and that is it. Yeah, that was fun. It's not like an insanely big patch, but we're getting close to the end of season, so that's totally normal. It's a lot of good balance stuff, right? They're buffing dragons, they're nerfing demons, little nerf for Nagas, Bone Render out, so I like that. It's a good little maintenance patch. Good stuff.